Good morning, everybody. It's Lindsey Huddleston with SPS back in the building for another SPS Monday Motivation. That's right, we made it through a week. A lot going on in the world right now. The headlines keep talking about these shootings over and over again. I can't help but say, be vigilant in your actions, be positive in your thinking, not to be overwhelmed. It's unfortunate that so many people are of a mindset that shooting is the outcome that they want for a situation. I just send positive energy to everybody that we can be safe going forward. And who is this morning? Like clockwork. Good morning, Michelle. Michelle Mimi Watkins, how are you? Hoping that you and the family are doing well. Well, what is today's Monday motivation? It's an interesting topic. The Maserati story. The Maserati story. So funny. I knew the name Maserati before I knew what it was. As a youngster growing up in Detroit, you heard the tales of, you know, the old gangster Maserati Rick. And so you heard that name and you associated it with something, I have to say, of prominence, even though it was amongst the drug culture. And as I got older, I later became to realize, understand that a Maserati was a particular kind of vehicle. So it was always something that was in the back of my mind. Now, mind you, Lamborghini, Ferraris, all those are dope. And I'm really a big fan of Lamborghini, but it's something about the Maserati, maybe even the name itself to be able to say it. But this is the symbol that you see on the vehicles, the trident, which is actually influenced by a fountain in Italy that's representing of the Greek god Neptune. But just the early story of this, and I think it's worth telling the story of Maserati because it's our story as well. What do you mean by that, Lindsay? Maserati started out as a racing car. Rodolfo Maserati, back in about 1914, started this company, and it was a racing company. You see, back then it was a single seater racer, and this was one of the fastest cars in the world. It would win several Formula One races, and they got a lot of responses to that. I got my brother Kevin Marshall in the building. Brother Marshall, I'm telling the story, the Maserati story, and how the Maserati story, I think, could be our story as well. Basically, starting out as a racing vehicle back in the day, but it wasn't long after that that Adolfo Arisi bought the company from the Maserati brothers. So even though we see this name Maserati on it, it's no longer a family business. And it kind of reminded me of how sometimes, not in my particular case, but you can start off something with family or there'd be no family connection after a while, but you still have to go on because the end result is what we see 100 years later with Maserati as one of the famed, luxurious, and fastest vehicles going by. Keith Bates in the building. Good morning, my guy, back at you. Telling the story about how something can be a brand that's so welcome and recognized today, but there's also a story of it overcoming things. I mean, Maserati started during a time where ingenuity, war, and entrepreneurship were the key things. We may have started something with an idea. We may have started out fictitiously as a single goal of being just a race car and evolved to being a car for everyday use. And that's what happened later along. It ended up being a car that was used for everyday use. And it started to evolve a little bit. It started to evolve to where its craftsmanship was respected and appreciated. You can still see it still has that racing feel to it. But it was around this era that it became well respected as a gentleman's car. They said the Ferrari was for the playboys, but this was for the gentlemen. So what is this about? This evolution we all can have. We all can start out brute and strong and gritty with the way we approach things, but after a while, we can have some refinement in our lives. I just don't want you to feel that what you started as is what you have to end up as. You can go through a process that as you experience more and do more, you start to change. I've experienced in my life, and I would hope you can feel the need to do it yourself. Constantly, I hear the term of reinvention, reinvention. I think that's an important thing for us to grasp. Now, as it continued to grow, even in the 80s, it was the presidential limousine for the president of Italy. It was that respected because of its because of his luxury and all those things. Even Luciano Pavarotti, the great opera singer, he had one. So this vehicle went from being something that people just adore because it was a racing vehicle, but it went through its changes. You get where I'm going with this? It had different experience, and it became known for something consistently being a vehicle of luxury. Now, this may not look like much to us now, but you go back into the 80s, that was a huge thing, what it presented. And it's like that with us sometimes. Sometimes what we present may not look like much, but it's a great thing, when you reflect back on it. But then you talk about the future of Maserati. I mean, you look at that vehicle, that's an attractive vehicle, even if you're not into cars. But this is the change that it went through to go from being that single racer years ago to being something that people look at. And then when you talk about the future, by 2030, it's going to be all electric, another evolution that it's going to go through. So now I'm not just talking about my enjoyment of cars and how much I like a Maserati, and believe me, they're not easy to manage. A buddy of mine had one. Shout out to Don Defoe years ago. He said it costs about $700 to change the oil because you got to take the whole manifold off. But here's my point. The Maserati story can be our story. It's a story of someone having a dream some time ago and being willing to endure the challenges that come along the way to be where they are today. Think about what we've been through, the experience that we've had, not just in the last few weeks, not just in the last few months, but in the last few years. But we all are still here. You are here willing to hear my voice and see what's going on. And there's no reason that your story can't be a Maserati story. That when we look back on what you've accomplished and what you've done in this world, there will be almost like a literal museum we could think about of the people you've impacted. Just the people who just checked in this morning, Michelle, Mimi Watkins, Coach Kevin holding it down all the time, taking care of my folks as well as Coach Bates. You got Coach Marshall and Coach Bates. The people that they've impacted. We got 3 coaches right here who've impacted so many people that what they started out as their own as an individual, now they have an umbrella of people they're impacting going forward. And I think everyone else listening to this can be the same way. Then as far as what is it that you want? What is it that you want to accomplish? What do you want your legacy to be when they look back and they tell your story or they reflect on you? Because the reality is that we can't be here forever. The person who started the Maserati car company is no longer here, but the legacy lives on. Same thing for us. We won't be able to live a million years, at least unless we do some cryo chamber business or something like that. But what will your legacy be? What will your story be? I would love my story to be that of a Maserati story, meaning despite what I started with, what I was able to leave. And I think the same thing can be done, whether your name is up in lights or it's just someone who you impacted during this graduation season. It's someone you're going to impact during the summer when they're making a decision to do something different, or just how you interact with people as you go about your day. Are you that person when you walk past them at the office or the gym or wherever you are, people get a little bit more of a positive feeling? Or are you that person that drains and pulls away from people because you haven't been able to reconcile what you need to take care of so you can put out outwardly positive energy? I think the Maserati story is a great story. It's a story of success because we can look at the end finished product and we can hold in high regard. But just like us, there's so much we have to go through to get there. And that's what really resonated with me when I saw that. It's so much that went on throughout this process, but yet we still just see the finished process year after year after year, getting to this point, not knowing all the things that went on to get there. And I think that can be the story of our lives as well. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too much on this Monday morning. I just want to say, I want to wish you guys the best going forward. Whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever you're trying to accomplish, think of it in a way where you can stay locked in and focused, but not be overwhelmed and stressed. Anxiety, depression, and unfortunately suicide, these things seem to be running rampant right now in our society. It's very evident when you turn on the news. It's very evident when you hear the conversations. Please put yourself in a position where you can focus on what you need to do so not to be overwhelmed by those things. And if it's going on, you won't be impacted as well. My brother Sam Wells saying good morning. Look forward to the Monday motivation. I'm glad you do, brother. I'm glad you do. I know you staying motivated. I know you've been working out. I know you've been making some life changes. So you understand the Maserati story is Coach Sam Wells' story. Went from being one type of individual to being able to become someone else. And I think we all have the ability. I'm inspired by you, brother, and what you do and what you have going. And if nobody's telling you, I'm telling you right now on this platform, I want to wish you the best. So with that, on this note, I'm going to move on. I want you guys to have a wonderful day. I want to say thank you, brother. Yeah, Kevin Marshall, you are welcome for what you do, as well as Sam Wells. Yes, sir. Understood. So you brothers and sisters, go ahead and have a great day. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. Have a great life. All the best. Peace.